Jake Morrison walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council building. The walls were made of strange crystal that glowed with soft blue light. He had been coming here for 3 years now, but the place still made him feel small. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. Everything was built for aliens much taller than humans. His shoes made soft sounds on the smooth floor as he walked to his seat. Other ambassadors were already there, talking in their weird languages. Some looked like giant bugs. Others had too many arms or eyes in wrong places. Jake was used to it now, but it still felt strange. The human section was in the back corner. Jake hated that. It was like being put at the kids' table during dinner. But that was how things worked here. The older alien races got the good spots. Humans were new, so they got the worst seats. Jake sat down and opened his folder. Today was important. The council was voting on how much space humans could use in the galaxy. Earth had been asking for the right to settle in 20 new star systems. Their population was growing fast, and they needed room. But the aliens did not want. To give it to them, the lights dimmed and a voice spoke in the air. The Galactic Council meeting will now begin. Jake did not see any speakers, but somehow the words came from everywhere at once. Alien technology was weird like that. A tall, thin alien walked to the center of the room. This was Vextara, the council speaker. She was from the Aldari Empire, one of the most powerful alien groups. Her skin was pale green and her eyes were completely black. She wore long robes that seemed to move by themselves. Today we discussed the human expansion request. Vextara said, her voice was cold and sharp. The humans want access to 20 new systems. This is too much. Humans have only been in space for a short time. They do not understand how things work. Jake felt his hands tighten into fists. He had heard this same speech many times before. The aliens always said humans were too young, too violent, too dangerous. But humans had never started a war. They had always followed the rules. They had tried to be good neighbors. Humans are aggressive, continued another alien. This one looked like a walking tree with too many branches. They fight each other on their own world. How can we trust them with more space? They build weapons, said a third alien that reminded Jake of a giant spider. Their ships have military equipment. This shows they plan to attack us. Jake wanted to stand up and shout. Of course, human ships had weapons. Every alien ship had weapons too. Space was dangerous. There were pirates and monsters out there. But when aliens had weapons, it was called defense. When humans had weapons, it was called aggression. One by one, the aliens spoke against humanity. They said humans were not ready. They said humans were too different. They said humans needed to learn more before they could be trusted. It was always the same excuses. Finally, Vextara called for the vote. All in favor of limiting human expansion to 5 systems only, please indicate. Jake watched as lights appeared all around the room. Each light meant one alien race was voting against humanity. The lights kept coming. Soon there were so many that Jake stopped counting. It was like looking at stars in the night sky, all opposed. Vextara asked. Only a few lights appeared. Jake could count them easily, 23. Out of over 800 council members, only 23 supported humanity. Most of these were small, weak alien races that understood what it felt like to be pushed around. The vote is decided, Vextara announced. Humans will be limited to 5 systems for expansion. This meeting is now over. The aliens began to leave, talking and laughing among themselves. They were happy. They had put the humans in their place. Again, Jake sat in his chair, feeling sick. 5 systems. That was not enough. Earth was already crowded. The colonies needed more room to grow. But then something changed inside Jake. He had been trying to be polite for 3 years. He had followed their rules. He had been patient. He had hoped that if humans were good enough, the aliens would accept them, but it was never going to happen. The aliens did not want humans to succeed. They wanted humans to stay small and weak forever. Jake stood up slowly. His chair made a loud noise as it moved. Some aliens looked at him with annoyed faces. Humans were supposed to leave quietly after losing. That was the rule, but Jake did not leave. Instead, he walked to the center of the room where Vexthara was still standing. She looked down at him with surprise. Humans never approached the speaker without permission. "I have something to say," Jake announced. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. The room became quiet. Even the aliens who were leaving stopped to watch. Jake reached into his jacket and pulled out a small folder. Inside were his diplomatic papers. These papers made him the official representative of humanity. They gave him the right to speak for all humans in the galaxy. He opened the folder and pulled out the papers. Then, very slowly, he tore them in half. The sound was loud in the quiet room. Some aliens made shocked noises, others just stared. "The United Earth Federation is done with this council," Jake said. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the anger underneath. "We tried to work with you. We followed your rules. We asked nicely, but you never planned to treat us fairly." He dropped the torn papers on the floor. They scattered like leaves. In the wind, Vexthara's mouth hung open. She had never seen anything like this before. "From now on, humanity will make its own decisions," Jake continued. "We do not need your permission. We do not need your approval. We will take care of ourselves." Jake turned and walked toward the door. The other human diplomats followed him. Their footsteps echoed in the silent room. Every alien watched them. No one spoke. No one moved. At the door, Jake stopped and looked back. The crystal walls seemed less impressive now. The high ceiling felt less important. The aliens who had seemed so powerful just looked confused and afraid. "Good luck without use," Jake said. Then he walked out and the door closed behind him. The age of human diplomacy was over. Something new was about to begin. 6 months had passed since Jake Morrison walked out of the Galactic Council chambers. The aliens thought humans would come back quickly. They believed humans needed the Council more than the Council needed humans. They were wrong. On the planet Zentari Prime, Merchant Clickstar waited at the spaceport. His tentacles moved nervously as he checked his watch again. The human cargo ship was supposed to arrive 3 hours ago. It carried medicine that his people desperately needed. Without it, thousands would die from the plague that was spreading through the outer colonies. "Where are they?" Clickstar asked the port manager, a short alien with blue skin and 4 arms. "I do not know," the manager replied. "I have been calling them for days. They do not answer." This was happening all over the galaxy. Human ships that had been reliable for years simply stopped coming. Human companies that had contracts worth billions of credits just disappeared. Human workers who had been living on alien worlds packed up and left without saying goodbye. Captain Ron Blake sat in his ship's command chair, staring at the communication screen. Messages kept coming in from alien clients. They were angry, confused, and desperate. Some offered to pay double. Others threatened legal action. A few even begged. "Captain," his communications officer said, "we have another message from the Mallory Republic. They say their mining operation will shut down if we do not deliver the replacement parts." Ron turned off the screen without reading the message. "Set course for Earth," he said. "We are going home." His crew looked surprised. They had been working this trade route for 5 years. They knew these aliens personally. Some had even become friends. "Sir?" his first officer asked. "What about our contracts?" "The contracts are void," Ron replied. "Earth Command sent new orders yesterday. All human ships are to return to human space immediately. No exceptions." The first officer was quiet for a moment. "The Mallory have been good to us. They treated us fairly," Ron nodded. "I know, but orders are orders. Besides, this is bigger than just business. This is about respect." Across the galaxy, the same scene played out hundreds of times. Human ships changed course and headed home. Human colonies that had been trading with nearby alien worlds suddenly went quiet. Human research stations that had been sharing scientific data stopped transmitting. The silence was complete and terrifying. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the battleship Liberty. Around her, dozens of human warships patrolled the border of human space. Her orders were simple. No alien ships were allowed to enter, no exceptions. Admiral, her tactical officer reported, we have 3 Corveni vessels approaching the checkpoint. They are requesting permission to enter the Sol system. Kate looked at the display screen. The Corvani ships were small and lightly armed. They were probably merchants or diplomats. In the past, they would have been welcomed. Now things were different. Hail them, Kate ordered. The face of a Corvani captain appeared on the screen. He had gray skin and large yellow eyes. He looked worried. This is Captain Velinov of the Corvani trade vessel Prophet Star, he said. We request permission to dock at Earth Station 1. We have a cargo of rare minerals that your people need. Kate's expression did not change. Permission denied. Human space is closed to all alien vessels. Please turn around and leave immediately. The Corvani captain's eyes grew wider. But we have contracts. We have been trading with Earth for 10 years. Your people need these minerals for their electronics. That is no longer our concern, Kate replied. You have 10 minutes to leave our space. After that, we will consider your presence an act of aggression. The Corvani captain tried to argue, but Kate cut the transmission. She watched as the 3 alien ships slowly turned around and left. She felt a little sad. The Corvani had always been fair traders. But this was not about individual aliens. This was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. On the planet Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The chamber was only half full. Many ambassadors had left to deal with crises in their own territories. The ones who remained looked worried and confused. The humans have completely cut off all contact, reported Ambassador Threxka of the Mallory Republic. Our mining operations are failing. We cannot maintain our equipment without human parts. The situation is the same for us, said the representative from the Outer Rim Alliance. Human ships carried 60% of our trade goods. Without them, our economy is collapsing. Chancellor Morden, an elderly alien with silver skin and wise eyes, listened to the reports. He had been in politics for over a century. He had seen many crises, but nothing like this. Perhaps we should try to contact them, he suggested. Maybe we can work out a compromise. Vexthara, the council speaker, made a sound like a hiss. We do not negotiate with children having tantrums. The humans will come back when they realize they need us. But privately, Vexthara was worried. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Human monitoring stations that had been watching for dangerous space phenomena had gone dark. These stations had been providing early warning about solar flares, asteroid threats, and hostile alien movements. Without them, the galaxy felt less safe. Even more disturbing were the reports from the Galactic Rim. Human colonies that had been small and peaceful were now surrounded by construction projects. Alien scouts who tried to get close were warned away by human patrol ships. What were the humans building out there? Dr. Susan Lee worked in her laboratory on the human colony of New Geneva. She had been studying alien technology for years, trying to understand how their faster-than-light engines worked. Now she was working on something different, something that would change everything. How's the project coming? Asked her assistant, a young engineer named Tony Garcia. Susan looked up from her computer screen. Better than expected. Without having to share our research? With the Council, we are making progress much faster. I think we will have a working prototype within a year. The aliens are not going to like this, Tony said. Susan smiled. The aliens do not get a vote anymore. We are done asking for their permission. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Lisa Carter signed another executive order. This one recalled all human ambassadors from alien worlds. The last formal connections between humanity and the Galactic Council were being cut. Are you sure about this? Asked her advisor, Secretary of State Mark Thompson. Once we do this, there is no going back. Lisa looked out the window of the Oval Office. She could see the lights of the city below. Somewhere out there, human families were living their lives, working hard, and dreaming of a better future. They deserved better than being treated like second-class citizens by aliens who thought they were superior. I am sure, she said, The galaxy will learn to respect us, or they will learn to live without us, the silence continued. And with each passing day, the aliens began to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not coming back. At least not as the same people who had left. 1 year had passed since humanity cut off all contact with the galaxy. The aliens were learning what life was like without humans. It was not good. On the wealthy planet of Zephyr Prime, riots filled the streets. The hegemony of Zephyr had been humanity's biggest critic. They had called humans violent and primitive. Now their own people were fighting over food and medicine. Lord Zekthal watched the chaos from his palace window. His purple skin had turned pale with worry. For generations his people had lived in luxury. They made beautiful art and expensive jewelry that other aliens bought, but most of their customers had been humans. My lord, his advisor said, the factories are closing. Without human buyers, we cannot sell our goods. The workers have no jobs. Zekthal turned away from the window. What about other alien races? Surely they will buy our products. The advisor looked uncomfortable. They say our prices are too high. Humans were the only ones willing to pay full price. They appreciated quality. It was true. Humans had loved Zephyrian art. They had bought millions of credits worth of sculptures, paintings, and jewelry. Human collectors had driven up prices across the galaxy. Now that market was gone. We could lower our prices, Zekthal suggested. We tried that, the advisor replied. Other aliens still will not buy. They say our art is too strange, too alien. Humans were the only ones who found beauty in our work. Zekthal sat down heavily in his chair. His people had mocked human taste. They had called humans simple and easy to fool. Now they realized that humans had been their best customers. Maybe their only real customers. Meanwhile, on the planet Zereth, Dr. Vixmar stared at his computer screen in horror. The screen was filled with error messages. His research computer, the most advanced in the galaxy, was breaking down. What is happening? He asked his assistant. The system is failing, the assistant replied. It started 3 months ago, small errors at first. Now it is getting worse. Dr. Vixmar had been working on this computer for 20 years. It could solve mathematical problems that would take other computers centuries to complete. But now, it was dying. Run the diagnostic program, he ordered. The results were shocking. The computer's main processing system was built on human-designed algorithms. These programs had been so well made that the Zerethi had forgotten they were human creations. They had just become part of the system, but the algorithms needed regular updates. Small fixes and improvements that kept them running smoothly. These updates had always come from human programmers. Now there were no updates. The programs were slowly breaking down. Can we fix it ourselves? Dr. Vixmar asked. His assistant shook his head. The human code is too complex. We do not understand how it works. We only know how to use it. Dr. Vixmar felt sick. The Zerethi had prided themselves on being the smartest race in the galaxy. They had looked down on human intelligence. Now, they discovered that they had been depending on human genius for decades. On the border worlds, pirates were getting bolder. The Crimson Fleet, a group of alien criminals, attacked merchant ships almost daily. Before they had been careful. Human patrol ships had watched the trade routes. Human sensors had detected pirate movements long before they could attack. Now the sensors were gone. The patrol ships had returned to human space. The pirates could attack without fear. Captain Thraxalon of the Stellar Republic Navy led a fleet of warships against the pirates. His ships were powerful and well-armed, but they were also slow and clumsy compared to human vessels. Enemy ships approaching, his tactical officer reported. They are using hit-and-run tactics. Thraxalon cursed. The pirates had learned their tactics from fighting human ships. They would attack quickly and then disappear before the heavier alien ships could respond. It was a human strategy, and it worked perfectly against alien fleets. Fire all weapons. Thraxalon ordered. His ships fired, but the pirates were already gone. They had jumped to hyperspace before the weapons could reach them. An hour later, they attacked another merchant ship on the other side of the system. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we are getting reports of 12 more pirate attacks. In the last day, our ships cannot keep up with them." Thraxalon knew the truth. Without human ships to help patrol the borders, the pirates were winning. The galaxy was becoming more dangerous every day, but the worst problems were not military or economic. They were the hidden ones that nobody had noticed before. On the planet Corvan, the weather prediction system failed. Farmers did not know when to plant their crops. Storms hit without warning. The system had been running for 50 years, but nobody remembered that it used human-designed weather modeling software on Mallory Prime. The traffic control system in the capital city broke down. Flying cars crashed into each other. The system had been upgraded with human artificial intelligence programs that were now failing without maintenance on hundreds of worlds. Small but important systems were breaking down. Water purification, plants, power grids, communication networks. All of them had been improved with human technology over the years. Now that technology was failing, the aliens had not realized how much they depended on human innovation. Human engineers had quietly made the galaxy a better place. Their improvements had been so good that aliens had forgotten they existed. Dr. Alex Turner sat in his research station in the Centauri system. He was writing a report about what was happening in the galaxy. The report would go to Earth Command, but Alex knew it would never be shared with aliens. "The economic collapse is spreading," he wrote. 17 major alien civilizations are now in serious trouble. The Zephyr hegemony may not survive another year. The Zirithi Collective is losing its technological edge. Even the powerful Althari Empire is struggling. Alex paused and looked out the window. In the distance, he could see the construction ships, working on humanity's secret project. Whatever they were building, it was enormous, and it was almost finished. "But the most important change is not economic," he continued writing. "It is psychological. The aliens are starting to realize that humans were not primitive newcomers. We were innovators, we were problem solvers. We made their lives better in ways they never noticed." Alex smiled as he wrote the final line of his report. "They wanted to treat us like children. Now they are learning what happens when the children decide to leave home." In the Galactic Council chambers, the debates grew more desperate each day. Some aliens still insisted that humans would come back. Others suggested military action. A few brave ones suggested that maybe the Council had been wrong about humanity, but pride is a powerful thing, and the aliens had too much pride to admit. Their mistakes, at least not yet. The galaxy was changing. The question was whether the aliens would change with it, or whether they would learn too late that they had driven away the best neighbors they had ever had. 2 years had passed since humanity disappeared from galactic politics. The aliens thought they had seen the worst of their problems. They were wrong. The warning came from the edge of the galaxy. A deep space monitoring station picked up something terrible. Hundreds of massive ships were approaching from the dark space between galaxies. They were bigger than anything the aliens had ever seen, and they were coming fast. Admiral Kethmar of the Stellar Republic was in charge of the galaxy's defenses. He was a veteran of many wars, but when he saw the enemy fleet, his blood went cold. The ships were black metal and covered in spikes. They looked like they were built for one purpose, destroying everything in their path. "What are they?" asked his communications officer. "I do not know," Kethmar replied. "But they are not friendly." The first attacks came without warning. The enemy ships swept through the outer colonies like a storm. They destroyed everything they found. Cities, farms, space stations, even the planets themselves. Nothing was left behind. The aliens called them the Devourers. It was a good name. They seemed to eat entire star systems, leaving only empty space behind. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. For the first time in 2 years, every seat in the chamber was filled. The aliens, who had been arguing about trade and politics, now faced something much worse. "We need to combine our fleets," Chancellor Mordun announced. "This enemy is too strong for any of us to fight alone." The room erupted in arguments. The Aldari Empire did not trust the Zephyr hegemony. The Zirathi Collective refused to work with the Corvani. Centuries of rivalry and hatred made cooperation almost impossible, but fear is a powerful motivator. Within a week, the largest fleet in galactic history was assembled. Ships from dozens of different races gathered near the galaxy's edge. Admiral Kethmer looked at his command screen and counted over 3,000 vessels. "This should be enough," he told his staff. "We outnumber them 10 to 1. The Battle of Kepler's Edge was a disaster. The alien fleet attacked with courage and determination, but their ships were old and slow. Their weapons were weak. Their tactics were outdated. The Devourers moved like dancers. Their ships were faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Their weapons cut through alien shields like paper. Their formations were perfect, as if controlled by a single mind. Within 6 hours, half the alien fleet was destroyed. The survivors retreated in panic. Admiral Kethmer watched from his flagship as the enemy ships continued their advance toward the galaxy's core. "Send a message to all systems," he ordered. "Tell them to evacuate. We cannot stop these monsters." The news spread. Panic across the galaxy. Billions of aliens fled their homes. Space lanes were clogged with refugee ships. The great civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years were collapsing in terror on Nexus Prime. The Galactic Council met in their final session. The crystal chambers that had seemed so grand now felt like a tomb. Half the ambassadors had already fled. The others sat in stunned silence. "We have no choice," whispered Ambassador Threxka. "We must ask the humans for help." The room fell silent. For 2 years, they had been too proud to admit they needed humanity. Now they were out of options. "The humans will not help us," Vexthara said. "We treated them badly. They have no reason to care if we live or die." "We have to try," Chancellor Morden replied. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them we are sorry. Tell them we need their help." The message was sent on all frequencies. It was simple and desperate. "The galaxy is dying. Please help us." "We were wrong about everything," the response came 12 hours later. It was not from Earth. It was from a human fleet that appeared suddenly at the edge of the battle zone. The voice belonged to Fleet Admiral Ben Roberts, broadcasting from a ship called the Defiant Star. "Galactic Council," his voice was calm and cold. "We received your message. We told you 2 years ago that we would handle our own affairs. That is what we are doing now." The aliens watched in amazement as the human fleet moved toward the Devourers. These were not the same ships they remembered from before. These vessels were sleek and deadly, covered in armor that seemed to absorb light. They moved with impossible grace, like metal sharks swimming through space. "How many ships do they have?" Admiral Kethmer asked his scanner operator. "I count 200 vessels, sir. But they are much larger than our ships, and the energy readings are off the charts." The Battle of Titan's Gate began at dawn. Captain Steve Adams led the first wave of human fighters. His small ship danced between the massive Devourer vessels, firing weapons that burned through their armor like acid. Behind him, dozens of other human pilots followed, each one moving with perfect precision. The Devourers had expected another easy victory. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that was faster, smarter, and more determined than anything they had faced before. Commander Linda Hayes commanded the human battleship, Thunder Strike. Her ship was half the size of a Devourer dreadnought, but when she fired her main guns, the enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire. "Target the next one," she ordered. "Make them pay for every inch of space." The human fleet fought like a single organism. When one ship was damaged, others covered its retreat. When an enemy formation tried to break through, human vessels appeared from nowhere to stop them. It was like watching a master musician play a perfect symphony. Admiral Kethmer watched the battle from his command ship. He had fought in dozens of wars, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans were not just winning. They were destroying an enemy that had seemed invincible. "Sir," his communications officer said, The human admiral is requesting to speak with you. Admiral Ben Roberts appeared on the screen. He was older than Kethmer had expected, with gray hair and tired eyes. But his voice was strong and confident. "Admiral Kethmer," he said, "withdraw your remaining ships. We will finish this fight." "Admiral Roberts," Kethmer replied, "we are grateful for your help. But you only have 200 ships. The enemy still has over 1,000. Ben Roberts smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Admiral, you are about to learn why it was a mistake to make humanity your enemy." The final phase of the battle began. The human ships formed a perfect sphere around the Devourer fleet. Then they fired everything they had. The weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Beams of pure energy that could destroy a ship in one shot. Missiles that could think for themselves and hunt down targets. Shields that could absorb massive amounts of damage and redirect it back at the enemy. When the battle ended, the Devourer fleet was completely destroyed. Not a single enemy ship escaped. The threat that had terrified the entire galaxy was gone. The aliens who watched the battle were left speechless. The humans had done the impossible. They had saved the galaxy from complete destruction, but the biggest shock was still to come. As the human fleet prepared to leave, Admiral Roberts sent one final message to the Galactic Council. "The galaxy is safe," he said. "The Devourers will not return. But remember this day. Remember what happened when you tried to keep humanity small and weak. You created something much more powerful than you ever imagined." The message ended, and the human fleet disappeared into hyperspace. The aliens were left alone with their thoughts and their shame. They had learned a terrible lesson. Humanity was not the primitive race they had believed. They were the galaxy's protectors, and they had been hiding their true strength all along. The Devourer threat was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. News of humanity's victory spread quickly through all the star systems. The aliens who had once looked down on humans now spoke their name with respect and fear. President Lisa Carter stood on the steps of the United Earth Federation building in Washington. Behind her, the flags of every human colony fluttered in the wind. In front of her, reporters from across the galaxy waited to hear what she would say. This speech would be broadcast to every world, translated into thousands of languages. 2 years ago, she began, humanity left the Galactic Council because we were not treated as equals. We asked for respect and were given insults. We asked for fair treatment and were given restrictions. So we decided to stand on our own. The alien reporters in the crowd shifted nervously. They remembered how their governments had celebrated. When humans left, they had called it a victory. Now it seemed like the biggest mistake in galactic history. "The Devourers came from beyond our galaxy," President Carter continued. "They threatened every living being in this part of space. We could have stayed hidden. We could have let them destroy you all, but that is not who we are. Humans protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if they have wronged us." She paused and looked directly into the cameras. "But things will be different now. Humanity will not return to the Galactic Council as junior members. We will not accept second-class treatment. If you want our friendship, you must earn it. If you want our protection, you must show us respect." The speech continued for 20 minutes. President Carter outlined humanity's terms for re-engagement with the galaxy. There would be no more restrictions on human expansion. Human ships would have the right to travel anywhere. Human colonies would govern themselves without outside interference. And most importantly, humanity would be treated as an equal partner in all galactic affairs. On the planet Mallory Prime, Prime Minister Kekstar watched the speech with his cabinet. The Mallory had always been friendly to humans, but they had still voted against them in the council. Now they regretted that decision. "We should be the first to accept their terms," Kekstar said. "The Mallory Republic will sign a friendship treaty with humanity immediately." His foreign minister looked worried. "What about the Galactic Council?" "They will not like us making separate deals with the humans." Kekstar laughed bitterly. "The Galactic Council is finished. They could not protect us from the Devourers. Only the humans could do that. Why should we listen to failures when we can ally with winners? Within hours, the Mallory Republic sent a formal request to Earth for a mutual defense pact. They were not the only ones. Dozens of alien governments reached out to humanity directly. Bypassing the Council completely, the Corvani Enclave offered exclusive mining rights to human companies. The Frontier Alliance invited human settlers to their empty worlds. Even some of the smaller members of the Aldari Empire secretly sent messages expressing their desire for human friendship. General Paul Martinez stood on the observation deck of the new human naval base at Volf 359. Construction ships worked around the clock to build the massive facility. This was not just a military base. It was a symbol of humanity's new position in the galaxy. "How many requests have we received?" he asked his aide. 47 star systems have asked for human protection, the aide replied. 15 governments want to hire human security companies. And 23 species want to buy human weapons, General Martinez nodded. 2 years ago, these same aliens had called human weapons too dangerous. Now they were begging to buy them. Fear had a way of changing perspectives. What about the big powers? He asked. The Aldari Empire is split. Half of them want to negotiate. The other half still refuse to admit they were wrong. The Zirithi Collective is desperate to get access to human technology again. They say their computer systems are failing without our software updates. The general smiled. Let them wait. We have time. They do not. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council tried to maintain its authority, but fewer aliens were listening. The crystal chambers that had once been filled with hundreds of ambassadors now echoed with emptiness. Many species had stopped sending representatives altogether. Vextara, the council speaker, called another emergency session. Only 60 ambassadors showed up. In the past, the chamber would have been completely full. We must maintain unity, she declared. The humans cannot be allowed to divide us. We ruled the galaxy for millions of years before they arrived. We can do it again. But her words sounded hollow. Everyone knew the truth. The galaxy needed humanity more than humanity needed the galaxy. The Devourers had proven that beyond any doubt, Chancellor Morden stood up slowly. He was older now, tired from the crisis. Perhaps it is time to admit we were wrong, he said quietly. The humans saved us all. Maybe we should thank them instead of fighting them. Never, Vextara hissed. We do not bow to primitives. Morden looked around the nearly empty chamber. Look around you, speaker. This is what pride has brought us. Empty seats and failed leadership. The humans did not destroy the Galactic Council. We destroyed it ourselves. He gathered his papers and walked toward the door. The Outer Rim Alliance withdraws from this council. We will make our own agreements with humanity. One by one, other ambassadors followed him out. By the end of the day, the Galactic Council had lost half its members. Meanwhile, humanity was building something new. Dr. Amy Clark worked in her laboratory on the research station orbiting Earth. She was designing the next generation of human technology. Ships that could travel faster than anything in the galaxy, weapons that could defend against any threat, sensors that could watch the entire galaxy for signs of danger. The Devourers will not be the last threat, she told her research team. There are other dangers out there in the dark space between galaxies. We need to be ready for them. Her assistant, engineer Tony Garcia, looked at the blueprints on the computer screen. These designs are incredible. But do we really need such powerful weapons? Dr. Clark nodded. The galaxy learned to respect us because we saved them. But respect based on fear does not last. We need to stay strong to keep the peace. 6 months after the Devourer War, Jake Morrison returned to Nexus Prime, but this time he was not a supplicant begging for alien approval. He was the representative of a galactic superpower. The crystal chambers had been rebuilt to accommodate the new reality. The human delegation now sat at the head of the council table, not in the back corner. The other aliens, what few remained, sat in the positions that humans had once occupied. Jake looked around the chamber that had once intimidated him. It seemed smaller now, less impressive. The aliens who had once looked down on him now watched him with nervous respect. The United Earth Federation is willing to work with the remaining members of the Galactic Council, he announced. But only as equals. The days of human subservience are over forever. The few aliens who remained nodded quickly. They had learned their lesson too late, but they had learned it. As the session ended, Jake walked to the same spot where he had torn up his diplomatic papers 2 years earlier. He thought about how much had changed. Humanity had asked for equality and been refused. So they had taken it instead. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. Respect could not be demanded or legislated. It had to be earned. And humanity had earned it the hard way by proving they were strong enough to protect not just themselves, but everyone else as well. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human leadership had begun. And this time, Jake Morrison thought with satisfaction, no one would forget it.